Peace and love, family, and welcome back for another Sunday Hope and Healing session. I'm Royce Fletcher Thomason, and I host these Sunday Hope and Healing sessions to provide encouragement, to provide obviously hope, and actually to provide healing, actual healing that may manifest in the state of your mental health, your sense of um, your divine connection, as well as even your physical health, really any area, any and every area of your body. And we do that through a methodology called Transcending the Matrix, which I've been utilizing for over 20 years now and teaching other people to utilize as well, which looks at a human being from not just a person, because it can be used on animals as well, that looks at the whole being and sees the interrelationship between the multi levels on which we exist: spiritual, mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual, physical, um, mental, emotional, physical, all of that, right? And so we're here each Sunday at 1 Eastern time. And uh, fortunately, we've been able to reach people all across the globe and help them with some healing, help them with some inspiration and such. And Teresa Ann, greetings to you. I hope that your day is going well and welcome to this space. And so, our actual focal point for today is a question. And that question is, how much do you actually alter your behavior based upon how somebody else might see or how somebody else might perceive you, right? How much do you alter your behavior based on the opinions of others, how they might perceive you, what judgments they might have for good or for bad about you? And we're going to actually end up doing some healing around that. And a lot of people, there are different people who see these videos, people in different parts of the world, people in different places in their life. And I want to submit to you, regardless of where you are on your journey, greetings, Curly Conscious King, regardless of where you are on your journey, I want to submit to you that there are ways in which you alter your behavior based on how somebody else might perceive you. Maybe you've been on a spiritual journey for a long time and you say, no, I'm very authentic in how I live my life. I don't live my life based on prescribed rules or dictates from external sources. Or maybe you might be a young person who might be kind of bucking the system in some way. You might be trying to stick it to the man, so to speak. You might be somebody who um, you just kind of have the attitude, this is who I am. People can just deal with it or not deal with it. Maybe that's the case. I want to submit to you, though, regardless of where you are in your journey, regardless of what self perceptions that you might have regarding your behavior and how you may or may not alter your behavior, I want to submit that there are a plethora of ways in which you do. There are an abundance of ways in which you alter your behavior based on how somebody else might perceive you. Greetings, Trisha C. And so some of you might be altering your behavior for the purpose of acceptance, and who you might be trying to be accepted by might vary. It might be, your peers, it might be members of your family, it might be your spouse, it might be your children, right? It might be, the people on your job. It might be people who move in the circles that you move in, people in your peer group, right? You might refrain from engaging in certain behaviors that would be detrimental because you don't want somebody to see you in a negative light. On the flip side of that, you might you might engage in certain behaviors because you want to impress somebody, right? And so you might reveal certain parts of yourself. You might hide certain parts of yourself. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that everybody deserves a front row seat to your life. I'm not saying that everybody warrants um, a real deep dive into the inner workings of what makes you you. Not everybody is worthy of holding your secrets, so to speak. Not everybody deserves to be welcomed into that space of ultimate transparency and vulnerability for you. That should be reserved for a chosen few who you feel it worth the risk of sharing that with them, and with the trust that they'll honor that sacred space that is being placed in their care, in terms of those things that are closest and most meaningful to you, and that you'll indeed have a safe space to express and share certain aspects of yourself, right? The reality is that most people aren't really truly living out the fullness of who we actually are truthfully, because we're in one way or another trying to fit in, trying to be accepted by the group. It's We have actually a physical biological need on some level to be accepted by our group. Otherwise, we're hardwired for connection, right? We're social creatures. Whether you are a person who is more, um, whether you're a person who's more outgoing, or whether you are a person who's more reserved, okay, whether you're an extrovert or whether you're an introvert, you have a need for human connection. We all do, right? If you're a human, it means that you're a mammal, and all mammals have a part of their brain that reptiles do not have, that releases oxytocin, which is a bonding chemical, a bonding hormone, right? And that's how we were wired. That's how we were divinely designed. That is a part of what went into our divine blueprint, to be able to have that sense of connection, to be able to somehow feel a sense of bonding in a group context. Maybe your group is larger, maybe it's smaller, but we actually have a biological need for that. It's how we were designed. A reality is that sometimes we sacrifice our own authentic expression. Sometimes we sacrifice aspects of ourselves. We deny parts of ourselves that are really true to us in order to not be ostracized from the group, or to be welcomed by the group, or to be embraced by the group, or to avoid being judged by the group or somebody in the group, right? And so we've got these two conflicting things going on inside of us sometimes, where we have this need for authentic self expression. We have this need to be the truest versions of ourselves. We have this need to operate and exist within the space that's most true for us, and express from a place that's most true for us, while at the same time wanting to be able to navigate that simultaneously with not wanting to offend people in the group, not wanting to be ostracized by people in the group, not wanting to um, be judged by people in the group, whatever our group might be. Again, family, friends, people in our workspace, at in organizations that we might belong to, at the place where you may worship, whatever the case might be. Right. And so I want to actually check in with you all a little bit. Greetings, Layla, from the other side of the pond. It's good to see you. It's always good to see you in the space. So glad to have you here today. I want to check in with you all for a little bit and ask you, and just take an internal inventory. If you feel comfortable sharing, I realize this is a public space, but if you feel comfortable sharing, I'd like to ask you to type in the comments. Where are some areas where you hide aspects of yourself? based on how somebody else might perceive you, based on how somebody else might judge you, or how do you show up in a way that doesn't really reflect what's true for you in order to maybe gain acceptance or approval um, from other people, right? You know, the prison systems are filled with people who are just desiring to fit in, right? I know that in the penitentiaries where men are located, a great majority grew up in households where their father was not around, right? Part of the appeal of a gang, right, is having that sense of community. We all have that need on some level to have that sense of connection that I talked about before, to feel embraced by others, to feel accepted by others, to feel like there are other people who are in your corner and who have your back, right? And so, prisons are filled with people who got in with the wrong crowd because they didn't get that acceptance in the place where they were really needing it. And in the absence of having it there, they sought other places to get it. This is a real thing. And maybe this isn't your specific reality, but I can tell you, for me personally, I've never been interested in being in a gang or anything like that. That's not how I'm cut. Um, and fortunately, I had, circumstances that gave me some advantages, or that didn't give me certain disadvantages. But a reality is this, that I too, I know that you have in different ways, have found myself in situations where I had to make a choice on whether I was going to be really true to what's really true in my soul, or fit in a situation. Okay. In times that I chose that road less traveled, so to speak, it was what I needed to do, but it wasn't always necessarily received very well. You know, there was a time years ago, I was in college when I accepted a call to ministry. And just after college, a few months after I graduated from college, I went to seminary to pursue a Master of Divinity degree, and ultimately ended up getting kicked out of seminary. And the reason that the official paperwork said was does not demonstrate a promise for ministry. The place that I was operating from for me to be my true, authentic self didn't necessarily resonate with that group consciousness and that need to try to control things a certain way. It isn't that I was trying to be openly rebellious just for no reason at all. I did, however, feel a need to authentically express Royce and walk in alignment with how I felt led, how I felt guided, right? Even if that meant not being accepted by the larger community there at the school that I was attending, and where my college mentor actually ended up being the president of this school. I transferred to that school from another school when my college mentor became the president of the school that I ended up ultimately um, being invited to leave. And then when I didn't accept that initial invitation, I was told that I would no longer be welcome to stay. And that was a difficult time. That was a difficult time in my life because I was a young man engaging in training for ministry, and there were some things I had to navigate in that process. It takes a lot of courage to live your authentic self. And I'll be honest with you, there have been a whole lot of situations where I didn't express my authentic self, right? In some ways, I got that acceptance rather than that being ostracized. But ultimately, those things didn't work out either when I was trying to behave in a way that would be maybe more acceptable by others, right? Hmm. Have you done that in your life? You don't have to answer out loud, but I do want to encourage you to answer to yourself. And in what ways have you altered your behavior based on how somebody else might perceive, right? Based on how somebody else might perceive you. Sometimes sometimes we don't do things that we want to do because we don't want to look bad in somebody else's eyes. And I get that there is some level of nobility in that. Sometimes if we would do certain things, but we know that our children are looking at us, we know that people who look up to us are looking at us, and we don't want to disappoint them. And even moreover, we want to set a good example for them. Uh, there is some level of nobility in that. What I'm wanting to encourage is for us to be able to lay hold of um, a level of moral excellence in such a way as we do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do, right? I guess it's good to do something good, whatever your motivation is, but it's certainly much better to do the right thing because it's the right thing, right? To do the right thing because it's the right thing, or to do the right thing even when nobody is watching you, right? Even if you can't ever take credit for what it is that you did, even if nobody will be there to applaud you or to say job well done, or nobody gives you the accolades for doing that thing which you did just because it was the right thing to do anyway, right? And so there are a lot of different things that cause us to alter our behavior based on how somebody else might perceive us. And we're going to actually, that's going to be the focal point of the healing today, for us to be able to endeavor to live more authentic lives. And, part of what inspired this today, there are a couple of different things. One of the things, though, is some of you might know that I have had a lifelong affair with music, and that I enjoy the artistry of DJing, something I started doing back in the '80s. And on another YouTube page, actually, it's devoted to the DJing that I do. This is devoted to the healing, which is a very authentic part of me, and another page is devoted to DJing, which is also a very authentic part of me. And I'm working on a video right now for a mix that I did, and I chose to start it off with this one particular song. And the song starts off with a lady by the name of um, Dr. Barbara Ann Tier, who I was paused for a minute because I was trying to remember the name of the theater that she started. This was decades ago. It was the National Black Theater or something of that nature. But in this particular song, it starts off her she's more publicly sharing kind of her story and how she felt led to move away from kind of the modern dance movement that she had been involved in because she found it restricting. She's found it to be about following all of these rules that didn't necessarily resonate with the law of her soul, right? That didn't resonate with what was true within her. And so she talks about how she decided to break off from that because she wanted to be free. She wanted to be authentic. She wanted to be able to express what was true to her artistically, right? And so she created a space for herself as well as others to be able to do that. In this context, primarily melanated people um, in the United States, because that was her particular life experience in the midst of not having really spaces to be able to express that unique expression of soulful flavor, if you will. And so, anyway, I don't even know. Um, well, I do. It's a song I happen to like. The song. It's called Jazz, capital JAS, not JZZ, but capital J, capital A, capital S. You might want to check it out sometime by Tim Deluxe, Deluxe with an E at the end. Um, but that had me thinking a lot, and this is stuff that I think about all the time anyway. In terms of authenticity. And we're going to do some healing around that to kind of break down some of the barriers, some of the limitations, some of the traumas, some of the other things that um, have us sometimes compromising our most authentic self, right? Our most authentic self. And truthfully, a lot of us don't even know exactly what our most authentic self is because we've spent so much of our life just trying to survive. Um, and sometimes we don't even understand why the things that are our desires or why the things that are our interests or why the things that are our aversions, the things that we have aversions to, the things that we avoid, why those are even the case. And a lot of times it has to do with unresolved stuff that just needs to be cleared out of the way to create an open space to be able to operate in a spirit of wholeness and total and complete authenticity and well-being. Because the reality is, if you abandon the truth of your soul, it will end up showing up in your life, and it will end up showing up in your body temple in different ways that aren't going to be things that you would enjoy. Okay. All right. So um, I'm going to open this up to anybody and everybody who's open for this healing. And I'm going to start with a prayer. God, I know you to be a healer. And through the union that we share, through the power of your pure love, I demonstrate you as a healer on the behalf of everybody who's watching this broadcast, who chooses to tap into it, for the point of neutralizing the root cause of all behavior modification based on the motivation of concern of how other people might see us. And transmuting that into, from the causal root, and transmuting that into and replacing it with finding our truest self and actively living that out, doing so for the right reason, and optimizing the essence of spiritual morality, and therefore being the versions of ourselves that we may have suppressed, that we may have forgotten about, that we might not even be consciously aware exist, but that you, who you designed and created us to be. And I bear witness to our wholeness beginning on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All righty. So let's get into the healing. So we're going to address some things, and if you're new to the broadcast, there are things that I say, but really the healing that I do, a lot of times if I'm working with a person individually, I'm just silent. Um, the magic isn't in the words that I say, so to speak. Um, I'm just telling you the things that are coming up, and then silently and invisibly these things are actually addressed. So I want to look first and foremost at, first thing I want to look at is actually fear of abandonment. Okay, that's coming up as a big issue in terms of us altering our behavior based on how somebody else might see us. Okay, all righty. So we're going to resolve that at the root cause. Now, in terms of the fear of abandonment, let's get let's get into that. Let's unpack that fear of abandonment a little bit, shall we? Okay. So let's look at actually memory of negative experiences from the past. All right. And replace that with um, being rewarded for being our truest selves. That's big. That's big. A lot of times we do things out of fear of being punished or a desire to be rewarded, and that can eschew things. All right, so let's look at times where we've been punished for being our true selves and rewarded for altering our behavior in a way that would please somebody else or generate acceptance or approval from somebody else. And we want to replace that with deeply and completely loving and approving of ourselves. Okay. Allowing space for unconditional love towards you from you. Okay. Alrighty. And unconditional acceptance for you from you. All right. All right. Now let's look at trauma that has taken place in the past. Okay. Trauma that might have resulted in feelings of feeling abandoned, feeling rejected. That feeling rejected is coming up as a definite issue. So let's resolve that and transmute that feeling rejected to feeling feeling whole, feeling reconciled within yourself, feeling at peace within yourself, self love. Okay, let's look at it's coming up now is like survival strategies. We develop survival strategies to be able to kind of navigate life on planet Earth. And some of those survival strategies um, cause us to abandon ourselves. Okay. So let's look at being able to embrace ourselves, fully embrace ourselves. Sometimes we might have a fear of connecting with other people because we might have a fear of connecting with other people on a certain level because we fear that that will require us to abandon ourselves. Or we might have a fear of commitment because we feel like that will lock us in to a sort of prison that keeps us from being who we really are. So we want to release that unresolved trauma, those unresolved experiences from the past, transmute them into complete confidence that we can be free to be who we authentically are, um, without fear of um, it hurting someone else, without fear of it having negative consequences. All right. Now, for us to be able to do that, we'd actually need to be in touch with whatever our truest self is. Okay. All right. So, what keeps us from seeing who our truest self actually is? Because we look at life through the lenses of the matrix, if you will. We look at ourselves and everything and life through the lenses of the matrix. Okay. Which is basically the programming, the box that we've been programmed into. We've been programmed into that box based on things that are generally accepted things within our culture, based on things that we've been indoctrinated with, that we've been socialized to believe, based on life experiences that we've had, based on things that we've seen happen to other people. All of that kind of feeds into that soup, if you will. All of those things are ingredients in that soup or that stew of the stuff that actually hinders our perception, and we're viewing life in the context of this Maya or illusion. We don't see things as we are. We see things based on where we are, right? All right. So let's look at fear of seeing the truth. Replace that with confidence of seeing the truth and being able to see the truth and be at peace. Yes, Layla, someone says that rejection is God's protection. Yeah, sometimes certain relationships don't work out, certain connections with certain people don't work out the way that we want them to, certain jobs don't work out the way we think we want them to, because that's not where we're divinely appointed to be. Okay. That's not a space where we can actually really truly thrive in being true to who it is that we really are. It's not, it might be what we think we want, but it's not really what's going to make our souls rejoice, right? We want for our souls to be able to rejoice. Otherwise, we're not going to have joy in our lives. We want the stuff that we want because of the perception of how having that particular thing, whatever it might be, will make us feel. But let's see if we can go straight to the feeling, and without necessarily having to require having that to get us there. And so to be able to somehow tap into God's perfect plan unfolding for you in your life is something that's definitely going to bring you joy. You may not necessarily know what that actually is, though, what that actually looks like or how that would actually play out. So it requires a certain degree of surrender. Okay. And surrender can be scary because in order to surrender, we've got to be willing to let go of the illusion of control. I say the illusion of control because the reality is that we're not really controlling anything. We just like to feel like we're in control. Okay. And then we try to control things that we can't control, like other people's behavior, other people's thought processes, right? Oh my gosh. Talk about a recipe for frustration. Ah, okay. So let's get back to the healing. All right. Now let's get to, I want to just kind of do a bulk clearing real quick of just different grid lines of the matrix, respective to uh, what we've been taught about needing to be in control. That's altering our behavior based on how somebody else might see us is an effort to maintain control, right? To maintain control, to control the outcome. That's no bueno. That's no bueno. All right, so let's look at trusting, deep trust, deep, deep knowing that we're protected, that we're guided, that we're safe in the hands of God, that our future is secure. All right, want to boost that, make that strong for all of us. Okay. I want to take a moment now and look at like some ancestral things as it relates to the idea of needing to forget a part of yourself or abandon a part of yourself. Maybe for the group, maybe for the community, maybe for the family. Right. Doesn't mean that our actions and our behaviors don't impact other people. They most certainly do. We're all interconnected. You're certainly interconnected with the people who are nearest and dearest to you. Decisions that you make will impact them. It's key, though, to operate from that space of that divinely centered space, that you're receiving information from God on your direction in terms of how you're going to behave in a certain situation. And if you're doing that, everything's going to end up working out for the good in the long run. So I want to strengthen us all to be able to accept that, to be able to embrace that, to be able to know that it's so. From some level, we might believe it or want to believe it, but doubt that it's really the case. All right. So deep, deep, deep knowing that it's safe to let go of the reins and trying to steer things in the direction that you think they need to go, and to be able to place your hand in the hand of God and to walk wherever it is that you're being divinely led and guided. Now, tricky part of that, okay, tricky part of that is being able to discern what God's will for your life is. And that can sometimes be tricky based on experiences that you've had, pain that you've experienced in the past, um, whatever your subconscious desires are, having other people in your ear giving suggestions. So being able to actually enter into the secret recesses of your own soul where nobody else can meet you but God, to be able to go to those spaces within you, to be able to truly hear where nobody else um, is influencing that guidance or is interfering, I would say, with that guidance. Okay, offering their 2 cents, whatever that might be. Okay, and people will offer their suggestions. That's just what we do. But to be able to really discern what it is that God's saying without being swayed um, by the people that might be in your ear or your automatic negative thoughts that might be coming up. Right. Okay. All right. Let's look at while we're on this ancestral thing too, because I want to go back. Let's go back 18, 19, 23 generations. All right, 23 generations behind you. They'll resolve this issue. All righty. And how many ancestors going back, or how many people in your family lineage going back throughout the duration of those 23 generations? It was a big number. I don't feel led to say what it is. How big the number was doesn't really matter. Okay. So even right now, even as you're being healed, stuff in your family lineage is being healed. And that's actually go forward in terms of future generations as well, or generations that come after you as well. All right. 7 generations. Okay. So resolving that in all of these generations, going backwards and going forwards. All right. Thank you, God. Okay. Now I want to look at the ability to remember your pure self, the purity of your own soul. Hmm. All right. So let's look at resolving uh, spiritual dementia, if you will. All right. Resolving the aspects of you that where somewhere in your consciousness has been degenerated. The memory of who you really are has been degenerated into something less than. You're not able to remember clearly who and what it is that you actually are and were designed, always designed to be. All right. You want to replace that. Want to look at judgments that you have about yourself upon remembering who that you really are and why you behaved the way that you did, if you are who you really are. Okay, we want to remove all self-judgment and all self-condemnation, as well as judgment and condemnation towards other people, including your caregivers, your parents, other family members, teachers, other people that you perceive to be in positions of authority. Okay. And being at peace with the version of yourself that you were in the past. Mm. Deeply and completely forgiving yourself for the mistakes that you made in the past, the way that you abandoned yourself in the past, the way that you sold yourself short in the past, the way that you sacrificed aspects of your own well-being, of the truth of your soul. Okay. And now being able to see and fully embrace, fully celebrate the truth of your soul, the truth of who you ultimately, really, truly are. And to feel comfortable with the highest and best version of yourself without anticipating how other people will see you, perceive you, um, or behave differently towards you, right? Or how folk will talk about you. All righty. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's look at reconnecting with your soul tribe. We all need to be connected with our tribe, so to speak. Recently been experiencing some more connections in that area myself, and it's definitely a joy to be able to experience that. All righty. So, with respect to that, let's look at fear of change, fear of the unknown, um, needing to be in control again. That comes up a lot. That's coming up a lot, and just in different areas, different ways, from different angles. I want to replace that with trusting the process, trusting that God has your best interest at heart and is perfecting the things that are concerning you. And it's all working together for your good and for the highest and best good of everybody involved. All right. Okay. All right. So I want to take a moment now and I want to look at um, I want to look at opening up space within your mind. Look at opening up space within your mind for um, a new and improved version of your life. Okay. Being able to see what you weren't able to see before in terms of wonderful new possibilities. All right. Yeah, I dig that. All right. And let's look at opening up space in your heart. Hmm. Open up space in your heart where you may reside more fully. Mm. That's big. That's so significant. That's so significant. Opening up more space in your heart for you, for the parts of you that were wounded in the past and may even still be wounded now, parts of you that you feel concerned may be wounded in the future. Open up space in your heart for that version of you. Save space in your heart for all the aspects of you. Be deeply and completely loved and accepted. Mm. And to feel deeply and completely loved and accepted. All right. And open up space in your mind for you to dwell completely in the heart of God. And open up space in your heart and your mind to welcome the light of God's love into every aspect of your life, into every thought, into every feeling, into every moment, every decision. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to do just a couple more and then we'll wrap it up for today. So I want to look at actually let's resolve some karma. Let's resolve some karma for past behaviors. Okay. All right, let's look at real karma or imagined karma and submit them to the light of God's love to be transmuted and purified. For you to be able to have compassion for anyone that you caused pain or anybody else in a similar situation. As well as any residuals that might exist. Hmm. Yeah, that feels good. All right, and I want to look at this is the last thing we'll do, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Your concern of how your of how other people will be impacted, um, how they might be impacted negatively. Okay, we want to replace that with celebrating how they'll be impacted for the good. Course in Miracles says when we're healed, we're not healed alone. So even as you're being healed, there's something in them that's being healed. There might be a part of you that might have felt some fear about this new you triggering the version of them that they want to stay attached to. We're freeing you up and also offering support to them as well to be able to embrace their own healing also. So, God, thank you so much for the healing that's taking place on today. Thank you for every soul who's chosen to love themselves enough to tune into this and to receive the benefit that this healing is providing. Thank you for the way that your love and your grace and your power has shown up today. And to those areas where maybe you hadn't been fully welcomed in before. Mm. Thank you for the healing. Thank you for the transformation. Thank you for the new life and the new blessing. For all of this, we give great thanks and affirm it is done. It is done. It is done. Mm. All right. Okay, beloved. Well, that wraps us up for today's Sunday Hope and Healing session. I'm thankful that you've been here and that you've afforded yourself this opportunity to receive this today. We're always happy to share this work. If you feel blessed by it and you'd like to contribute to what it is that we're doing, you're so welcome to do that. Want to give you an opportunity to do that if your heart feels so inclined. You can do that via Cash App at $Royce F. Thomason, um, or PayPal at Royce Thomason at yahoo.com. Uh, if you feel like this is a place where you're being nourished, where you're being fed, and you want to sow into your own well being, it's a good place to sow into that. Anyway, if you're also interested in learning how to be able to do this yourself, what you see me doing, there's no way you'd be able to tell what it is that I'm actually doing just by the words that I'm saying. But if you want to actually be able to tap into what it is that I do and to be able to do this yourself, certainly welcome uh, your participation in this journey. We've got actually a Transcending the Matrix training coming up. And it doesn't matter where on the planet you are because it's going to be via Zoom. Um, and it's going to be December 8th through 10th. That's a Friday through a Sunday. And December 8th through 10th. Um, and it'll be via Zoom. If you're at all interested in participating in this training, and this is training that can allow you to help somebody become free of pain very quickly, to help somebody overcome diseases very, very quickly. It's something that you can do on yourself. It's something that you can do with other people, something you can do with people who are physically present with you, something that you can do with people who are on the other side of the globe. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be physically present with them. And you don't really even have to ultimately understand completely how that works. The reality is that it does work. Kind of like, you know, probably none of us who are on this broadcast right now really understand how it works for me to be able to broadcast, and you're able to pick it up wherever it is that you are in the world, right? Don't know exactly how the technology works, but the key is that it does work, right? Anyway, I'm very happy to share this work with you. And if you are at all interested, send me a direct message on Facebook at Royce Fletcher Thomason, or you can send it on Instagram at Royce Fletcher Thomason. Again, it's December 8th through 10th. I'd encourage you to reach out to me soon if that's something that you might even be remotely interested in. Anyway, for all of you today, I wish you a wonderful balance of your day. Curly Conscious King, Corleen, Jennifer, Layla, um, Teresa, and everybody who's been here today. It's certainly a pleasure to have you, and sending out a bunch of good vibes in your direction. And as always, I send you forth today with peace and love. Catch you next time.